It is the 5th of July. Good morning. It's Sunday morning, the 5th of July. This is Sunday View. How are you? And I hope you've had a good weekend. I hope you had the winner in the Derby yesterday. 25-1. Aidan O'Brien. I don't gamble, so I didn't have it. It is me, Richie Allen, the BBG, gonna look through the Sunday newspapers as usual, and we'll listen to one or two of the morning talk shows as well. One or two clips for you. Let's just get on with it.
It's the BBG, not the BBC. You're listening to the Richie Allen Radio Show, live from Salford in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, those Irish guys, they know their horses, don't they? They know their horses.
It's the Richie Allen Show, broadcasting live on richieallen.co.uk and multiple platforms around the world. And now, here's your host, Richie Allen.
Well, I just had a tweet from Charlotte in Burnley. You're right, Charlotte. She said, "Greetings, Richie. I braved the local pub yesterday and was pleasantly surprised. No contact details were taken for anybody. As far as I can see, table service was a dream, one in, one out at the toilet, which helped me escape awkward pleasantries at the sink." So Charlotte there with a very eloquent review of the new normal in Burnley. Lovely. Well, did you go to the pub? Did you have the same serene experience as Charlotte? Did you? Well, you can tweet me. It's at Richie Allen Show. Is the Twitter thing, as you well know. Yeah. Do you want me to run through the front pages really quickly? Do you want me to do that? I don't mind. I'll do it. I have to bring them up now. The best laid plans of mice and men. Let's look at the front page of The Observer. The old lefty bollockses at The Observer. NHS fury over broken pledge of extra cash to fight virus is the headline. The Observer going with the accusation that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, will be breaking a pledge to give the health service whatever it needs by refusing a £10 billion cash injection needed to avoid the NHS being crippled by a second wave of coronavirus. The Treasury declined to comment when pressed to do so by The Observer. That's The Observer. Sunday Telegraph goes with Huawei faces 5G ban within months. The paper reports that Boris Johnson, is expected to begin phasing out the use of Huawei technology in Britain's 5G network as soon as this year. The Telegraph says GCHQ is understood to have revised its previous assurance that the risks posed by the Chinese company can be safely managed. So they'll be 86ing the Chinese and Huawei. Of course, not a single newspaper in the country with the cojones to ask questions about the safety of 5G. Also on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, pressure on Duke to speak to FBI without Home Office intervening. Ghislaine Maxwell is being held, of course, having been captured by the FBI, by the Fibbies, and questions now about what that will mean for the grand old Duke of York and whether he's trembling in his boots. I doubt it. The Mail on Sunday goes with the headline, "The Day Britain Smiled Again." Well, Charlotte Binns in Burnley was smiling. You complier, Charlotte. You complier. You split arse. Of course I didn't go to the pub yesterday. Of course not. Also on the front page of the Mail on Sunday, a picture of a couple emerging from a chapel. Wedded bliss there. The Sunday Times goes with fashion giant faces slavery investigation. This is it's a very good bit of investigative journalism by the Sunday Times. One must give credit when one sees that credit is due, you know. Right? This is Boohoo and Nasty Gal. Do you buy your clothes from Boohoo and Nasty Gal? Or like me, do you wear a pair of jeans a million times until it's unwearable and then you go to Primark? That's what I do. Do you go to Boohoo? Do you go to Nasty Gal? Well, they've got people working for them in Leicester, and they're paying them as little as £3.50 an hour. That's just disgusting, isn't it? And the Sunday Times sent one of their own reporters in undercover with cameras, wired for sound, and has uncovered this disgrace. Brilliant. So well done, Sunday Times. The people behind Nasty Gal and Boohoo are appalled and are going to look into it. My arse, are they appalled. Of course they knew what was going on. The Star on Sunday gets the Pun of the Day award. What is it, Baldy? It is queasy like Sunday morning. That's why I'm queasy. I'm queasy like Sunday morning. This is about, obviously, the pubs opening up yesterday and people getting pissed as farts. Sunday People goes with boozing for Britain and a picture of 4 lads taking the piss out of the new normal by wearing white boiler suits on their day out. The People estimates 210 million quid was spent on alcohol and some of those disgusting snacks that the English eat, like pork scratchings and jellied eels. Pork scratchings. You have to be sick to eat that shit. But the English do. And that is 6.5 minutes past the hour. That's the front pages out of the way. I'm so excited. I might just take a tune. Do you fancy a tune? I think we'll start off with a tune. We've been doing that a lot lately on Sunday mornings. So this is the Bellamy brothers then. Craig Bellamy and David Bellamy. Back with more in a minute on Sunday View. The Bellamy brothers on the Richie Allen Radio Show. Sunday View. It's not too bad in Salford. Not too bad. It's not too bad at all. A little bit dull, but not raining. That's not a bad thing. IT Bird says, how you doing, IT Bird? Pork scratchings are lovely, he says.
What the hell is wrong with you, you sick bastard?
Yeah, they're disgusting, man. Hi to John, who makes a very good point on Twitter. How you doing, John? Richie, it's curious. There isn't that much interest in dealing with today's slavers. Rather, people preoccupied with ones who died hundreds of years ago. Very good point. Where are the... listen, give them a chance. It's only the Sunday Times investigation into Nasty Gal and Boo-Hoo. It's only been published, so let's give those who are offended by slavers and statues from, well, as you said, centuries ago, let's see, have they any interest in this story. Hi to Charlie. Loving the sunshine, says Charlie. How you doing, Charlie? Good for you. Hi to Wendy Ruth. Hi to Stuart, who says, I can't go to the pub and fund the system through the tax on alcohol. That's supporting lockdown on us. Gives me a reason to be teetotal for the foreseeable future, says Stuart. Good man. Civilizing Trickster, how you doing? Hi, Susan. Keep those tweets there coming in. How you, Shona? And Midnight, how you doing, Midnight? Hi to Dean Smith, how you doing, Dean? Hope all is well. How you, William? Thanks for that, William. I saw that this morning. Maxwell pictured on... There's a story in some of the newspapers this morning. And it's about... What's it about, Richie? It's about how Bill Clinton arranged for Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein to get a tour of Buckingham Palace, which led to Maxwell and Epstein sitting on a throne. A lot of people not happy about that. All right. And Clinton was involved. And Kevin Spacey is in the picture as well. Kevin Spacey, yeah. A lot of people think Kevin Spacey was a fine actor. I could never stand him, to be honest. How you doing, Lee? Hi, Joanne in Chorlton. How you doing, Joanne? Good friend of the show's. And she's amused by some of what she's hearing this morning. Let's hope there's more to laugh at, because, to be honest with you, we could do with a laugh. Speaking of things to laugh about, happy 4th of July aftermath. And you might be waking up with a sore head this morning, my American friends. I hope you had a good 4th of July. And if you are waking up this morning, well, you're waking up to this news. There is a new hat in the presidential election ring.
Meanwhile, rapper Kanye West, previously a vocal supporter of Donald Trump, has announced that he plans to run for president in the November election. He wrote on Twitter, "We must now realise the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision and building our future. I am running for President of the United States." He was immediately endorsed by the tech billionaire Elon Musk.
What kind of fuckery is this?
It is. What it is it's where it's all heading anyway. Reality TV. We've already got the first reality TV president. You will have more. Kanye, why not? I would have thought Jay-Z. I would have thought Beyonce, if you wanted another black president to emerge. Oprah, maybe. This is where it's all going. Keeps them happy. The real powers that be couldn't give a shit who the president is. As long as it keeps us arguing and happy and pissed off and angry. Speaking of pubs, thanks again for your pub experience reviews today. Listen to this. This was on the BBC webpage this morning. It is crystal clear, writes the BBC, the drunk people are unable to socially distance. And that's according to the chair of the Police Federation. Pubs reopened yesterday. John Apter tweeted that he was dealing with naked men, happy drunks, angry drunks, fights, and more angry drunks on a shift in Southampton. But that's an ordinary Saturday night in any town centre. Even the naked men. I've seen naked men once or twice in my time as a nightclub DJ. It's not uncommon for a guy to get pissed and to decide to divest himself of his clothes. It happens. But the police thanked the majority of people for acting responsibly as they enjoyed their night out. Fiona Trott works for BBC Radio 5 Live. She went out on the piss in Newcastle last night to see was there any crack at all.
Listen to this. Well, that's the sound of a bar in Newcastle on a Saturday night. Normally, you wouldn't be able to move in here, but there's not even 30 people in here at the moment. They're sitting down, spaced apart. Some tables are divided with perspex screens and...
Perspex screens, eh?
Waiting staff wearing masks are bringing pints to the customers. It looks very different, it feels very different, but the customers say they don't care.
You always miss like the pub atmosphere type of thing, and having a nice beer off draft. It's not the same as having out a can or a bottle, so it's just nice to be back out and have a bit of normality to your life again.
We didn't know what the bars were going to be like and what the regulations were going to be like, but once we got you, the way you sign in to come in and do your hands and get your own private table, you feel safe straight away, so it's okay and it puts your mind at rest.
Everyone seems quite happy just to be back out again, and obviously sticking to the rules and regulations that are in place, so it's just if everyone sticks with them, everyone have a good time.
I'm so happy to be back out again, like so happy, because it's been like 4 months of drinking tinnies and I'm so happy to have like a pint poured. Like it's so nice.
I just like the normality of it, really. It's just it's a really simple thing, but it makes you feel like it's getting back to normal a little bit.
Yeah.
And
even though it's not, like it's so quiet, like it's so dead.
there's no live music, but I've gone 15 weeks without this sweet nectar, and I'm glad that I've got it back in my life, which is a pint. Love
Yeah.
it.
So not much crack there then, you could argue. No live music. No sport on. And you're being encouraged in some pubs, I learned today, not to be too loud. I learned this morning. I had a few emails from people down south who said that there were times when people were asked to just keep it down a little bit because the spittle, you see. The louder you speak, the more your spittle travels, and you might give some chap playing dominoes in the corner, you might give him coronavirus. Not much crack. Mad shit there, really. Perspex screens. Weddings came back too. Have a listen to Chris Warburton and Eleanor Aldroyd on BBC Sunday Breakfast talking about weddings coming back.
But it is not just nightlife that's returned. Couples in England who are tying the knot can now have up to 30 guests attend their wedding. A friend of mine did exactly that yesterday, and congratulations to them. 2 households can meet up indoors or outdoors and also stay overnight with them. And places of worship are also able to reopen with social distancing. So you might be going off to church this morning.
There was an aerial photograph in one of the papers, actually, of a church wedding, and it was rather strange, you know, couples positioned behind individual pews, ultimately, you know, in different parts of the church, and just those 30 people that are allowed in. So very, very different, but I guess very memorable as well for the people that you know as well, Ellie. You know, they'll look back and think, wow, we did that at a really incredible time.
Day, yeah.
Exactly. Now, there's little change for Scotland and Wales.
Yeah, little change for Scotland and Wales. Listen, did you hear the BBC presenters endorsing this bollocks? Oh, it's memorable. It's not fucking memorable. if you've got if every second pew has to be left empty, and if you're allowed to have 30 guests. Listen, here's the Sunday Times this morning. There's a story in the Sunday Times about Louise, who is a paramedic who works 5 12-hour shifts a week. I suppose we better fucking clap for Louise while we're here, will we? Will we? No, we won't. So Louise took a break from 5 12-hour shifts in an ambulance to get married in St. Paul's Church in Hereford. Where's Hereford? Northeast as well, is it? North, yeah. Listen to this. Abbott and her fiancé Gary had originally been planning for a large occasion on June 6th with loads of people there and all of that. But they had to settle for no bells being rung, no hymns being sung. The vicar gave his blessing from 2 meters away in the nearly empty church. Dettol wipes were used to sanitize the rings. The couple used their own pens to sign the marriage register. They wanted 70 guests, but in the end, they only took 4, the groom's grandparents and sister and the bride's mother, while everybody else watched a live stream on Facebook. This is where we're going. And Gary said, well, doesn't matter really. I just wanted to be married to Louise. So I would have done anything really. You fucking idiot, Gary. Anyway. What's happening, people? What's happening? And in the same bloody story, on the same page of the Sunday Times, is the story, lots of seats to choose from, 0 pick and mix. And of course, this is about cinemas. Jonathan Dean popped along to watch a film because the cinemas were opened yesterday. Again, every second row was empty. You couldn't sit near anybody. You had to wash your hands. And you couldn't get any pick and mix. What the fuck? 13 other people in the cinema. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. So what about Matt Hancock then, the ELF secretary? He was on Sophie Ridge this morning. How did it go then, Matt, on Saturday? How did things go?
Well, I think that from what I've seen, although there's some pictures to the contrary, very, very largely people have acted responsibly. And this balanced message is so important. People should enjoy summer safely. And of course, the emphasis is both on enjoy and safely. We of course, everybody knows that we're doing everything we can to get back to normal, but only to do that where it's safe to do so. So overall, I'm pleased with what happened yesterday. It was really good to see people out and about and very largely social distancing.
Sophie, any follow-up?
So you say that you're pleased with what happened. One person who's rather less pleased is John Apter, the chair.
This is John Apter. This is the guy who tweeted out how bad it was.
Of the Police Federation.
The naked man.
He was out on a night shift in Southampton. He tweeted to say that he dealt with happy drunks, angry drunks, fights and more angry drunks. And then he said what was crystal clear is that drunk people can't/won't socially distance. Now, we know that the rate of infection, the R rate, is creeping up. It could even be above 1 in London. Is it really a sensible thing to reopen pubs?
Yes, and of course there's incidents like the one that you just described, and we've seen that throughout, that there have been individual incidents that have been very unhelpful. But the large proportion of people, the vast majority of people, are, I think, doing the right thing. They are, increasingly people are able to use the freedoms that we're restoring. I had my hair cut.
The freedoms that we are restoring, eh? The language is important here.
They are, increasingly people are able to use the freedoms that we're restoring. I had my hair cut yesterday and I'm very relieved about it. But also doing that responsibly. I think the police have done an absolutely fantastic job throughout this crisis. Really, really difficult job. And the same again last night, when the vast majority of people followed the rules, did the right thing. And of course, we'll take action when we need to, if the minority break the rules.
Yeah. Ridge then suggested to him, the health secretary, that factories where clothes are made, for example, and other factories where food is produced and processed are not enforcing guidelines. Factories are doing as they please and are putting everybody else at risk. And she suggested to the Health Secretary that the government is pretty weak and powerless, well, to do out about it.
The thing is, though, Sophie, that guidance is statutory guidance. It's backed up by health and safety legislation, and there are very significant fines that can be levied if it's broken. Furthermore, we can... also what we're doing at the moment instead...
Answer the fucking question. How many fines have you levied on factories that are not doing what you told them to do?
If it's broken. Furthermore, we can... also what we're doing at the moment instead is we also have the authority to be able to shut down a business if it doesn't follow that guidance. So there's significant enforcement. Yes, and that's happened, absolutely. Normally, it's happened in consultation with and working with the employer, with the business in question, but we do have that power, absolutely. So the guidance is not, we're not just asking nicely, we're very clear to businesses that these are their responsibilities. For instance, the same goes for the responsibility for hospitality businesses to take the names and the numbers of the people who are there so that we can do contact tracing if that's necessary.
See, some people might be wondering if this is all a bit too late, though. You can impose fines, you can shut down businesses after the problem has already happened. And for many people, looking at what's happened at Leicester, they may be wondering if you were just too slow to act anyway on the lockdown. The Prime Minister said that the government first took notice of an issue in Leicester on the 8th of June. You spoke about it at the press conference on the 18th of June, but the lockdown wasn't imposed until Monday the 29th of June. Why did it take so long?
We were acting right from the start when we first saw, and in other parts of the country, the early action, targeted action that we took was successful. For instance, in Kirklees is a good example where we did close some factories.
Yeah, he waffles on then about where they've taken action and all of that. Good morning to Alan, otherwise known as Bass Ninja. Richie, if you're pissed as a newt, then is it not possible that anything entering your system is killed either by alcohol or kebab, so the risk is lowered? Maybe. Hi to David, who says, now then, is this antigen test an antigen-specific test, or is it just antigens that are found when the body is having an immune response to anything? Does anybody know? This is a great question, David. $64 million question, you might ask. So are you geared up then today at 5 o'clock, are you, for the clap for the NHS 72nd anniversary? Are you going to walk out to your front door like a muppet, are you, with a couple of pots and pans and frying pans? And are you going to clap like a goon while somebody films it for you so you can put it on your social media account to show that you are indeed compliant? Are you going to do that? Like a fucktard, are you, at 5 o'clock today? I tweeted out yesterday, and I meant it, there wasn't any alcohol involved. And I put it on Facebook as well. Stop thanking the NHS. It isn't a sacred cow that is being looked after by a group of wonderful volunteers. You pay for the thing. Well, why is this being lost? You pay for it, you morons that are clapping, I mean. And the employees are employees who've signed a contract. They work and they are paid for by you. They were trained to do these jobs. We need to stop mythologizing these people. They are not heroes. And they are not on the front effing line. They're not soldiers. They're not running up a hill to some demarcation fucking line where the virus is waiting. You're not the enemy. This nonsense. And the same politicians that are asking you to clap have been undermining and destroying the NHS for years. For years. And why? Well, so that it can be privatised. Not that it can be privatised. It has been privatised and it is being privatised by stealth. Though not so much by stealth anymore. For years. Same people saying to you, clap the heroes. Are undermining them. It's madness. You pay for it. And I'm getting hammered by some people screaming at me, "Oh, you're a bastard, Richie, and we're underpaid. Cry me a river. Cry me a river. I couldn't give a shit if you're underpaid. I support your strikes. I don't work for anybody, but if I did work for anybody, I would be advocating for sympathy strikes, to go out in sympathy with you, because I want you to be treated right and paid right, and I don't want it to be privatised. But I pay enough money in national insurance and in taxes, and I have done for years, tens of thousands, not alone, but the oft-mentioned future missus, tens of thousands, and I don't use the fucking thing." Somebody said to me on Twitter yesterday, "You wouldn't be long about shutting up if you needed it." I fucking paid for it. If I need it, I should be able to have it, right? Without thanking anybody. "Oh, thanks. They haven't done it for nothing." Madness, this. It's madness. I pay for my inhaler every month. Every month. It's all I get from the NHS, but I don't get it. I pay for it. Now, as for the wages, Andrew Marr raised the wages with Simon Stevens. He's the chief executive of NHS England. Marr brought it up about whether people are underpaid or not. Here's the exchange for you.
Now, everybody remembers looking back at this period, standing outside and clapping for the NHS. There's more clapping going on today. But a lot of NHS staff, what they really want is a pay increase. And they've written a letter saying that they would like a substantial, meaningful pay increase by the end of this year. Do you stand with them?
Well, you'd expect me as the head of the NHS to back staff across the health service. Yes. Of course, we want to see NHS staff properly rewarded. Those will be decisions that government will have to take later in the year. But I think there's no doubt that not just in the NHS, but also in social care, the whole success of the service relies on our frontline staff.
Now, all of that costs money. Have you asked the Chancellor for 10 billion extra for this year?
What I've done with my colleagues is ask that there be necessary funding to deal with the extra costs of coronavirus. That's the commitment that the Chancellor gave back in March, and I have to tell you, he has delivered on it. He has indeed provided the additional funding that we have needed through this coronavirus pandemic.
So you're not asking for extra money and that's being refused, because he told me, sitting where you're sitting, that he was going to give the NHS whatever it needed this year, and he is living up to that.
He has been doing that, absolutely, and looking out over the balance of the year, obviously there are judgments to be made about how we sustain the extra beds we think we're going to need. We're likely to have a big flu vaccination campaign this winter. There are very significant extra costs from personal protective equipment and other parts of the service.
So how much extra do you think you need this year?
Well, that is a dialogue that we are having, but all the signs are that we will continue to get the support that we need.
Simon Stevens there. Hi, Vicky on Twitter. How you doing, Vicky? That's Vicky in the UK. Vicky has tweeted a picture of her salon yesterday. Busy salon, of course, with people needing to have their tresses tangled and disentangled and teased by their hairdresser. No masks, visors or contact tracing, and not one client walked in with a mask either, says Vicky. Well done, Vicky, but be careful, lass. Be careful. There'll be any number of people, very, very quick to dob you in with the authorities. This is Sunday View with me, Richie Allen. I'll be taking another tune right now. Yeah, why not? I'll be Jesus.
Sally called, I'll never get used to not living next door to Alice.
Come here and tell me this. Did we ever find out who the fuck Alice was in the end? I'm not sure we ever did. I have this theory about names, and it gets me into trouble. Because even though I say everything I say is said in jest and it's not meant to hurt, I have a theory about names. There are certain names, if you confer them upon a child, you're guaranteeing the child is not going to be very good looking growing up. And Alice is definitely one of those names. I've never met a good looking... I had an Aunt Alice. Yeah. Never met a good looking Alice. Peggy is another one. You can't think of a Peggy anywhere that you've ever met ever in the world that was, easy on the eye. My mother was very clever. She knew, of course, that by naming me Richie, that I was bound to be gorgeous. And that's the way it is. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. Lots more to talk about. We're going to talk about racism in a minute. Aren't we? No? We are? All right, okay, we are, yeah. Just talking to my team of producers there. Racism in 60 seconds.
Renowned healer Mark Byersky travels the world to find the most unique and powerful crystals for self-healing. Since the ancient times, crystals have been used as healing tools. They hold a natural healing vibration and are highly charged in positive energy. Mark teaches how to channel the universal energy and transfer it to the crystal to activate its healing power. Each crystal is used for its unique ability to target a different physical or emotional challenge. Mark Byersky is an author, healer, speaker, and founder of the Pure Energy Healing Academy. He shares powerful messages of inspiration and healing on his daily YouTube videos, reaching millions worldwide. Mark's crystals, healing oils, and incense sticks are most sought after by other healers. His collection is available online at www.markbyersky.com. His work is presented through Lemon House, a company that creates and curates consciously made gifts.
Yeah, Civilizing Trickster says, Richie, I hope nobody you've ever met called Alice is sitting listening right now. I'm right, though. Even Alice Springs is ugly. Dreadful. Charlotte says Pauline. There's another one. Yeah. No. I know somebody. I was going to say another name, and then I realised I might have been in hot water. Hey, listen, a little bit of racism in the news, and that's because Formula One returns today, and probably the greatest driver that ever lived, Lewis Hamilton, says that some drivers' reluctance to take a knee before the Grand Prix this afternoon is down to a lack of understanding of racism. The drivers will take a collective stance against racism before the race in Austria today, but some of them are not comfortable with the kneeling gesture and won't do it. Lewis Hamilton said he had made his point to the drivers at a meeting on Friday. And here's a very, very short clip of Hamilton. But he says that thing, which I think is very, very dangerous. Lewis.
Silence is really generally complicit, so...
Start again. Silence is being complicit.
Silence is really generally complicit, so there still is some silence in some cases, but I think it's also a part of a dialogue of people trying to understand.
Little bollocks, huh? Silence is being complicit. We heard that from the gay ex-rugby player Gareth Thomas last week, who said that gays need allies, and that if you're not speaking out on behalf of gays, you're part of the problem. And I think this is about two things. It's about self-censorship, and it's about social crediting. I'm convinced of it. I said this on the show last week, and some good friends of mine said to me they think I'm wrong. And I might be, because I'm wrong quite often. But I think it's about social crediting, which is coming. You will be monitored in the future. I believe you will need to make declarations of support for pretty much everything that is going at the time, whatever the fashionable thing is. You will need to take a side. Either affirm that yes, you agree with the Twitterati, with the socially accepted position. You either agree with it or you don't, but you won't be allowed to be quiet and keep your opinions to yourself as social crediting comes in. You will need to be seen to be making declarations of support for people. I'm not joking. I really believe it, and it scares the absolute living bejesus out of me. I imagine a future. I swear to God. I imagine a future. How are you, Richie? Are you coming to the game tomorrow? Couple of pints before Salford? And I say, nah, I'm driving a float at Gay Pride tomorrow. You know what now, Rich? Yeah, me social credit score is a little bit low, so I don't have any choice. But that'll make you sick, Rich. I know. I hate those gay feckers. Richard, Gerald, Alan, you have been fined 5 social credit points for homophobia. Do not move. An officer will be along presently. Yeah. I forgot they have listening devices in the walls, like the Wesley Snipes Sylvester Stallone movie. Yeah, that's right. You'll be hearing that a lot in the future. You'll be out and about with your mates, you know. Yeah. Are you going to Gay Pride at the weekend? Are you taking the kids? Fuck no. You have been fined 5 credits. That's where it's going. I'm telling you. Taking your kid to drag queen story time at the library on Saturday, are you? No, that's fucking disgusting. You have been fined 10 credits. Yeah, that's where it's going. Shouldn't laugh because it's true. Demolition Man, watch it. The war on language. That's to do with self-censorship, the war on language. The Daily Mail, one of several newspapers. I sound increasingly like an exclusively Daily Mail reading person, but I'm not. I read them all. I subscribe to the Telegraph and the Times, and I do send a couple of bob to the Guardian, even though, to the credit of the Guardian, they don't ask for it. But I send it anyway. Well, you do. I send it on behalf of the show. So you won't be able to say master bedroom anymore in England because of its allusions to sexism and slavery. Estate agents across... Now, estate agents are wankers anyway. Anybody who's ever had to deal with them. Parasites. There must be one or two listeners to the Richie Allen Show. Maybe one or two of them donate. I'll find out later on. Donation has been cancelled. No, I joke. I jest. About estate agents. But they've decided to pitch in because estate agents, well, they're leading the fight against racism and sexism. Fair play to them. So socially conscious buyers, young people, snowflakes, don't want to hear terms like master bedroom. So when you're showing them around the house, you'll be saying things like primary bedroom or the principal bedroom. There you are. And Twitter is at this as well. Hang on, got to bring this up now. I didn't plan ahead. Sure, I didn't plan ahead this morning. Let me bring this up because it's very important. It's important. Twitter is wanting people to change language as well. Alrighty? So here's Twitter. Hang on. Yes, this is Twitter now. Jack. Probably not Jack. But somebody at Twitter has tweeted this. Inclusive language plays a critical role in fostering an environment where everyone belongs. At Twitter, the language we have been using in our code does not reflect our values as a company or represent the people we serve. We want to change that. Hashtag words matter. Words matter, says Twitter. So they want us to avoid non-inclusive language like whitelist and to use inclusive words like allowist. Blacklist is right out. Instead, we will be saying deny list. Master slave is right out. Leader follower, primary replica, primary standby. Grandfathered is out. And it will be replaced by legacy status. Gendered pronouns like guys will be phased out and will be replaced with things like folks, people, you all or y'all. Man hours. Well, that's fucking hateful. No more man hours. So we'll be saying person hours, engineer hours. Sanity check. We won't say that anymore because somebody might be on antidepressants and they might be fucking horrified if they see the term sanity check. So we will replace that with quick check, confidence check, coherence check. And thick fuckers might be offended if we use terms like dummy value. So we won't be using that anymore. We'll say placeholder value or sample value. These are the new norm.
What kind of fuckery is this?
And this is to impose on you and on me a new paradigm, a new era of self-censorship, where everyone will spend hours in conversations that usually took 25 seconds, because you'll be thinking really hard about whether you can actually say what it is you were just about to say. The words were just about to pour over your tongue and out through your lips as you were about to express yourself freely and without fear as you used to do, but not any fucking more. Conversation's going to go on forever. Well, Richie, what did you think of the game? I'll get back to you. Hang on a second. Mad. 'Tis only mad. Welcome to Sunday View, by the way, for just tuning in. Don't complain about the language. I've said before and I'll say it again, it's not a child-safe show, this. It's not suitable for children. So don't let children listen. It's everywhere. It's all over the place, on Podomatic, on iTunes. Explicit, it says. I am prone to the odd bout of Tourette's every now and then. I've said this before. So that's how we're changing things. That's how we're making a positive difference, says Twitter. Fancy going to see a play, do you? Forget about it. Theatres are fooked. Here's a snippet from an article in The Guardian this morning. If nothing is done soon, the government seems likely to lay waste to live music, to festivals, theatre companies, designers, orchestras, concert halls, iconic and otherwise. If there is any plan left for the arts to survive COVID-19, it looks pretty much like the proposal once summarised by Johnson as take it on the chin. Cultural herd immunity has already claimed half the jobs at the Theatre Royal Newcastle. The National Theatre has made 400 workers redundant this week. The Albert Hall appears to be in as much danger as some small regional theatres. The Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden promised action back in June, but theatres are still waiting. This is dreadful, because as we learned yesterday, Pret a Manger is going to lose at least 1 in 10 shops. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people being made redundant. It's happening all over the place. Nobody wants to talk about it, though. Well, theatre, of course, the arts employ hundreds of thousands of people, and it's being decimated. And as my great friend, beloved friend, Jean Ann Crowley has said to me many a time, and she puts it far more eloquently than I could ever do, the soul of a community, of a society, is dependent on the arts, isn't it? The mental well-being of our communities are dependent on a vibrant art scene, whether it's theatre, whether it's pantomime, whether it's music. You know what I'm talking about. Listen to Fiona Allen. She's the chief executive at Birmingham Hippodrome, which is a beautiful theatre. How do I know? Because I saw it on Sky News this morning. Resplendent place. Fiona Allen has bad news. She was with Sophie Ridge. Sophie Ridge was out and about in Birmingham. Listen to this.
We're in contact with our department, DCMS, and we know that they're working on guidance for how the sector can reopen. The problem that they have is we don't know when it will be safe to reopen and to allow people back into a theatre. And so that does make it really difficult for us to plan. I think if they knew, they'd tell us, but nobody from a health perspective knows how this pandemic is going to play out, whether there'll be second waves, whether some cities might need to close again like Leicester has. I don't think they can in good faith give us a date right now, which does mean it's impossible for us to plan. And in a sector where 70% of theatres think they're going to be out of business and insolvent by Christmas, for us we're really at a crunch time where we need to know whether we're going to be running a Christmas season or not. And if it's not, we need to know whether there's going to be any sort of government support package that can help us through that period and stop us from insolvency. Like many theatres, and every day you're reading of another, we have put 50% of our permanent team at risk of redundancy, and we're working through that consultation program right at the moment.
That must be pretty heartbreaking.
It's devastating, and we are losing... It's heartbreaking because we're losing such good, talented people. People have made a massive contribution to this sector and have a huge amount more to give. And because this isn't just us, this is across the country, these people, it's going to be very hard for them to get jobs again in theatre. We're going to lose them from the sector. We're going to lose all the skills and training that they've had. And that really is very hard to cope with.
Devastating for the arts. But Jean Ann has just reminded me, she's listening in Cleggan, that it's devastating for all performance, but theatre in particular, because theatre isn't like a music gig. You do need to plan for a long run, and a lot of capital is laid out, of course, by theatrical production companies before they open the door, even before they rehearse. It's devastating. It's horrifying to me as somebody who loves theatre, who loves live performance, whether dramatic or musical. Love it. Grew up on it. Horrible. And I'll give him a mention, and I do give him a mention when it's warranted. If you've read the books of David Icke, not just Icke but others, this has been long planned, because if performing arts is vital to the spirit, to the free spirit, to the free exchange of ideas, to free thinking, to our emotional well-being, if it's vital to us and to our communities, well, it was bound to be targeted. wasn't it? And I see it as part of this agenda that many writers and researchers have been writing about and thinking about and speaking about for many years. They've been, for years they've been on this, some of the writers in the conspiracy arena, let's call it. Bang on that this was going to happen. 9 minutes to the top of the year, vital to our well-being, says Jean Ann Crowley, and she's right. It's absolutely vital. I remember when I was a young, I'm going to give a mention now. I don't suppose she'll ever hear this, but when I was in my teens, there was no money in my family, none. We were broke, and we were lucky to get a meal 5 days a week. It's 5 days a week, 7 days a week. We were lucky to be fed, and we didn't have anything. And I didn't have any pocket money. And I didn't care. I didn't need any pocket money. We played soccer and we played rounders and we just hung around. And it didn't matter, right? But I lived near a woman called Mary Kimber. And she was heavily involved in the art scene in Waterford City. And there's a theatre in Waterford, in Garter Lane in Waterford City. There's a theatre and it's beautiful. And it puts on productions all the time. Visiting plays would be there. You know what Mary Kimber did for me and for my mates who had no money? She gave us free tickets regularly to go to the theatre. And I saw so many plays there, I couldn't even name them. But I saw the most amazing actors and actresses. And I'm a young, rough kid from Ballybeg in Waterford who didn't have an artistic bone in his body. But I'll tell you something. During very difficult times for me as a teenager, going to the theatre was an amazing thing. And I think it opened my mind up and it opened my eyes to possibilities that would never have occurred to me as a young lad from a working class housing estate in Waterford. So if anybody who knows Mary Kimber in Waterford, tell her she got an honourable mention on the Richie Allen Radio Show. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Theatre is vital. The Theatre Royal in Waterford, beautiful. Another beautiful building. And again, the amount of time I appeared in the Theatre Royal. I was Nanky Poo in the Mikado at Féileanasculla when I was a boy. I also narrated Rumpelstiltskin Oscuelga at the side of the stage with a microphone in my hand. I narrated that because the big baldy gammon can do a few things that you don't know. So yeah, theatre is hugely important. Let's move on. I'm going to finish with this, I think, today. I'm going to finish with this. The Resolution Foundation is a think tank. It's a left-wing one. And there's a big story inside The Observer today about how the Resolution Foundation has told the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, that the best thing to do from here on in would be to give every adult in the United Kingdom, not every household, every adult, 500 quid with instructions to go and spend it to kickstart the economy. It's in The Observer. Here's Helen Pidd. Helen Pidd is the northern editor for The Guardian. She was on the Andrew Marr show this morning. 500 quid for every man and woman and 250 quid for every sprog, for every child.
Yeah, so this is a proposal by the think tank, the Resolution Foundation, whose raison d'etre is to kind of fight for the low-paid workers in the UK. And they're suggesting that he dishes out £500 vouchers to be spent in specific places, so particularly the hospitality and leisure industries. It says children as well actually would get £250 to spend. And the idea is that that will be a better way to kickstart spending and to prop up the economy than something, for example, like a VAT cut. I think it would be pretty astonishing if a Conservative government introduced a measure like this, but we're in very strange times. I think there'd be a lot of backbenchers, the ones who, for example, were against Marcus Rashford, the Manchester United striker's campaign to feed children over the summer. I think those sort of Conservatives would not like the idea of giving out free money. But apparently it's a scheme that has already taken place in Wuhan, which we all know is where the virus originated, the outbreak, and also in Taiwan and in Malta. Yeah. So it is a tried and tested scheme elsewhere. Whether we're ready for it in this country, I'm not quite sure.
Who knows? Well, we'll see. 500 quid, eh? What would we do with 500 quid? Oh, God. Hey, Cave Hillbilly. Good morning, Cave Hillbilly on Twitter, who says, Richie, my brother-in-law is an actor and has refused to do virtual auditions or any online streaming events because it removes the very essence of theatre, he says. Now, that tweet has disappeared off my screen and I don't know why. Yes, my brother-in-law is an actor, has refused to do virtual auditions or any online streaming events. It removes the very essence of theatre. He also had a production cancelled because of lockdown. And the production was Orwell's 1984. The irony, says KF Hillbilly. You're right. And Alan, Bass Ninja, is back to say every major theatre in the UK employs a lot of people, from managers, bar staff, ushers, to cleaners, to stage managers, sound and lighting technicians, not just the musicians, dancers, actors, actresses. It's a small army of people needed for live performances, says Alan. And we spoke to Alan on the phone-in show last week. There will be more phone-in shows as well. Thanks, Alan, for that. I appreciate that, my friend. Right, that's more or less it then for Sunday View. Dean Henderson, who's not been on the radio show for, well, 6 or 7 months, even longer, will be back on the programme tomorrow. He's a lot to say. He's a terrific geopolitical commentator, Dean, and a very good author. And of course, his wife, Jill, another brilliant author and commentator. So Dean will be on with me tomorrow. I've lots of guests actually booked in for the week, but as per bloody usual, I don't have the diary to hand. I usually have the diary in the bedroom. Keep an eye on the diary. But it's going to be a good week, I think, on the radio show. Big thanks to you for listening today. I really appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Get out and about if you can. Get a bit of fresh air if you can. And there you go. So look, that's it. I'm going out. And this is for the aforementioned Jean Ann Crowley, who is a fan of hot chocolate. And Earl Brown. Going out with this. It's So You Win Again. Closing out Sunday View for Sunday, July 5th. Until tomorrow then, I bid you adieu. See you tomorrow then. Bye now.